Hi, folks. Welcome to the Getting Your Edge podcast. My name is Dennis.
And hi, I'm Judy Gratton.
And we're here to help you right-size your home and your life. Hello, my name is Dennis Day, and I'm with the Edge Group Real Estate, and you're listening to the Edge Group Getting Your Edge podcast.
And hi, I'm Judy Gratton. This is episode 1 of our brand new podcast.
How are you doing today, Judy?
I'm doing really well, thanks. And I'm really excited that we're finally getting this podcast up and running.
I know it's a lot more work than you think. So let's tell people, why are we here? What's the purpose of our podcast?
Well, we're here to talk about right-sizing. And right-sizing simply means getting you and your family into a home that fits your lifestyle and budget.
Right size. Are you sure that is even a real word?
It certainly is. You can even find it in the dictionary if you look. But it means different things to different people depending on where they currently are in their lives and what their needs are. They're all over the board.
So who is Judy Gratton?
Well, Judy Gratton is a realtor with John L. Scott and part of the Edge Group team. And I'm involved in this podcast because I have a little experience with right-sizing personally. From the time I was born until I was 18, I moved 23 times. And during my careers, plural, I've kind of been a jack of all trades. I started out early on in my life. I got a really great opportunity to do some photographic modeling and was able to live in Japan for a couple of years.
That was nice.
Yeah, it was. And after that, I became a flight attendant. And then I worked as a talent agent for a while and finally settled on real estate. And I think that's where I really found my calling. I have always loved working with people, and I absolutely love the Pacific Northwest. I fell in love with it. I am not a native, but I fell in love with it when I moved here. It's fun helping people find their homes here.
So you moved 23 times before you were 18, so more than once a year.
Absolutely. Yep. My dad was in construction, so whenever there was a new construction site, off we went.
How many schools did you attend?
I really don't know for certain, but I know I attended 4 junior highs in 2 years.
My gosh.
Mm-hmm.
You were always the new kid.
I was. Yes, I was.
Well, your life sounds a little more exciting than mine.
I have to admit, I'd had fun, but tell me, who is Dennis Day?
I was born and raised in Seattle area here. I'm a lifelong resident of Puget Sound, and that's where our business is, in the Seattle area. I worked in the food industry for 10 years to pay for college. That was a lot of fun and dirty, hard, smelly work. After college, I went and got a teaching certificate and became an elementary school librarian for 31 years.
Wow.
And I retired a couple of years ago. Now I'm a real estate broker with John L. Scott and part of the Edge Group team also.
Well, I also happen to know that you're quite a soccer fan. Doesn't your son play semi-pro soccer?
He does, and I was his coach when he was younger, and he's played all over the West. He's playing for the Everett Jets, which is a semi-pro team, and they'll start their spring season around February 2023. It's always fun. I just thoroughly enjoy watching him play as long as he's having fun.
Oh, good. Well, go Everett Jets. So,
well, with all those years, 28 moves plus over 2 decades in real estate, you've got to have some interesting experiences of clients needing to right size.
Yes, I have many, and I'll just give you a couple of examples so you can see how different right sizing can be. Early on in my career, I had a young couple come to me who were looking for a new home. They had 2 children and they had outgrown their current home. And so they were looking for something larger for their family. We looked around at several homes, found them a really nice, much larger home in the Snohomish area that fit their needs perfectly. And on the day of closing, they found out they were expecting their third child. So that was a really happy experience for them. It was fun to help them move up into the next level of their lives, and they were super excited. At the other end of the spectrum, a couple of years ago, we had a couple who were downsizing basically for the last time. We're currently living in a 55 plus community. Their home, there was a single family home, and it was 2 bedrooms, and they were going to be moving to Minnesota into an assisted living situation because they both had terminal illnesses. So they had to let go of everything they owned to make that move. And it was a very emotional transaction, if you want to call it that. Very emotional for them. We helped them do a garage sale, helped them find a place for things that they couldn't sell and didn't want to take with them. And it was very emotional for us as well, because you become part of the family, sort of, in real estate transactions for the brief period of time that you work with people. So it was very hard to say goodbye. So those are two different examples. Yeah.
You get used to working intensely with these families, and then it sort of just stops.
It's tough.
It closes hard. And it just kind of drops off, and you're like, oh, I miss them.
Yeah, I know.
Now we've started this podcast, and I'd really like to explain to people how we're going to help them. I mean, we've talked about very different experiences of different kinds of right sizing.
Mm-hmm.
Right sizing really isn't a one size fits all term.
No, not at all. I mean, you have people at the very beginning of purchasing their home, maybe fresh out of college or newly married, and all they really need is a small condominium. But with every change in their life, normally there's something they need to change about how and where they're living. Maybe they're being transferred to a new job. We run into that here a lot. And these people are coming from other parts of the country and generally don't know anything about this area. When I first moved up to Seattle, I was a flight attendant, and I didn't know the north end from the south end. I had no clue about where to look to even consider living. And we ended up, our first condo was in Linwood. And as a result, I think we just kind of gravitated to the north end. And yet I know people who their first homes were in Federal Way, and they've gravitated to the south end. So we help people find information on the areas that they will be moving to so they can make informed decisions on where they want to live.
What is the listener going to get from this podcast in the future?
We've tried to come up with, and we have a few different episodes on different aspects of right sizing. And we're going to be starting in the beginning of our podcast with talking about downsizing specifically. We're going to provide high quality information based on our experience. And then we're also going to be bringing in experts and guests, providing resources like timelines and booklets that would be helpful to people. And we've got giveaways our listeners can easily get. And we can answer any questions you might have right here on the air.
You have freebies? I love freebies.
Yes, we'll tell you how to get those later.
So we built our business, Judy, as the Edge Group team, specifically around helping people right size their home and their life. I want to tell our listeners that why I'm so passionate about this topic. I know. Passionate it's kind of an overused word. I'm passionate about coffee. I'm passionate about this or that. But it's true. I'm passionate because it's personal. I right-sized my parents 4 times in a 15-year period. I wasn't a realtor. I was a librarian at that time. And each time my siblings and I were stumbling around trying to find resources on the fly. We had to make snap decisions based on emotions like panic. And the decisions sometimes just didn't go well. They were poor. It wasn't fun. In fact, it was awful at times. And at times it was a full-time job on top of working in the school system. And through this podcast and our giveaways, I want to help our listeners so that your family doesn't have to go through what my family did. So you can make informed decisions. You can make timely decisions. You'll get guidance through a difficult process. And that's why I'm so excited about this podcast. Why do you want to create the podcast, Judy?
I think basically it comes around the questions that I have received and the situations that I have been in different transactions. Albeit my parents, I moved them here from Arkansas and they downsized. So I was able to help them, and it at times was very frustrating and very difficult. But I also got to help my daughter buy her first townhome once she graduated from college. And in each of those situations, there were questions around the particular situation that needed to be answered. And so over the years, I have developed the experience to be able to answer almost any question. And if I don't know the answer, and I'm not going to say I know them all, I will certainly find them for them. So that's why I wanted to develop this podcast, to help find those answers for people, so it does make those transactions and transitions easier in their lives and the lives of their family.
So we've defined what right-sizing is, and I'm going to say it again. As an educator for 31 years, I've learned that if you repeat things multiple times, sometimes they stick. So right-sizing simply means getting you and your family into a home that fits your lifestyle and your budget. So episode 1 here is just really laying the groundwork for our series of podcasts that are coming up. What is our next episode about? I think you teased it a little bit earlier.
I did? Oh, okay. It's about making a plan. And we're going to look at it in regards to steps in a 5-year plan for right sizing.
5 years seems like an awful long time.
Not really, but your timeline is your own. 5 years is a good place to start if possible, but if that doesn't work for you, then you'll have to adjust the timeline to fit your personal timeline. Some people have a year. Some people don't have any time at all. It's kind of put on them suddenly. And hopefully we can find answers that'll fit your timeline.
And as we mentioned, that we're going to have guest speakers and experts from all kinds of different fields. What are some of those fields that we're looking for in the future?
Well, we have someone who's going to talk about the financing that you might want to look into towards making that plan. We're going to have someone who's going to talk about estate sales and how you can, when you're downsizing, begin to find ways to get rid of all of the things that all of us have accumulated over the years. We're going to have someone talk about maintaining your home for that 5-year period so that when you go to sell it, you don't have huge expenses in getting it repaired so it can sell. Those are just some of the examples.
Great.
So how about we tell our listeners how to get a freebie from episode 1?
Freebies. I love freebies.
I know, you've already told us.
I know. But we do have a great freebie. And yes, it is free. It's called the Would You Rather game. Can you explain to folks what that is?
Sure. So we have a series of questions that start with would you rather. And depending on your answers, you will get points. And at the end of the questions, you add up your points to find out what level of right sizing you may be at this point in your life. There's no right or wrong answers.
So if you rack up a whole bunch of points, that doesn't mean you have to right size.
Oh, absolutely not. Right sizing is the decision that you make in your life on your timeline, but it does make you stop and think about what you have been thinking about anyway and haven't really been paying attention to.
Yeah, it's just going to give you some questions to let you focus on where your life is at. Is your current situation really fitting your lifestyle and your budget?
Correct.
So I'm going to tell you how to get that. All you have to do is go to the Edge Group real estate website, and that is www.edgegrouprealestateservices.com, edgegrouprealestateservices.com. At the top, there'll be a button that says freebie, and you click on that. You'll pull up a PDF. You'll be able to download it for free, or you can read it online. There's no sign up for the Would You Rather game.
Super. So this is just our first episode, and it's the one that's just kind of setting us up for the future. We drop new episodes on the first and third Mondays of every month.
And we would love you to like this podcast, share it with friends, family, or someone who could really use it. Give it a rating, write a review. That would really be awesome. You can also email us any questions you have, and we might bring those up on the air if you email at answers@edgegrouprealestateservices.com.
That sounds great. I think that's it for our first episode.
So in a couple of weeks, look for our next episode. It went really fast. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
And thanks to our listeners. Until next time, goodbye.
Until next time.
That's it, folks. Thanks for listening. And stay tuned for future episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks. Goodbye.